Hello and welcome to another episode of the Morning Buzz on Voice of the People TV. Well, I am Masenachi Okafor. Welcome.
And I am Jerry RPI. Of course, the top on our round this morning. Ima?
Oh yeah, of course, IPOB criticizes Kanu's trial as unfair, raises alarm over national implications.
WAEC candidate in Delta writes exam in darkness using torch lights. These are the major topics of discussion for today. However, we also have other interesting trending stories. But before we proceed, we urge you to kindly click on the subscription button and subscribe to our YouTube channel on Voice of the People TV. On all the social media platforms, we have VOP TV Live. Also, visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. This is Voice of the People TV. Your opinion matters to us. Therefore, we encourage you to call and share your thoughts and reactions via the WhatsApp platform on 09044732605 because here your voice matters.
All right, well, let us move on to most of the trending topics for today. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umo Eno has instructed all commissioners and political appointees in his cabinet to either defect with him to the All Progressives Congress APC or resign from their positions. Interesting. The directive was given during a state executive council meeting where the governor officially announced his departure from the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Well, the governor, he justified his move, citing his admiration for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership and the desire to work more closely with the federal government. He warned that he would not tolerate a dissent from any appointee unwilling to align with his new political directive, emphasizing there would be no negotiations on the matter. This is quite interesting when we have a lot of persons, moving from PDP to the APC, and we're having, another alliance between Obi, Atiku, and El Rufai, that was, alleged that they are now with another party, ADC. And then it makes me wonder, he said that that he admires the leadership of the president of Nigeria, but I bet you that maybe a lot of Nigerians do not share that thought, because we know very well that Nigerians are of the opinion that ever since the president became the president of Nigeria, there's been a lot of starvation, there's been a lot of hunger, there's been a lot of things, insecurity happening in Nigeria. So I wonder where the governor of Akwa Ibom is really drawing his inspiration from.
Yeah, we already know the political gimmicks, and I'm surprised that in 2025, as matured as our democracy is supposed to be, and over 25 years we've been practicing democracy again after military era, we're having people being forced to leave their party of their own choice to move over to the next party just because the governor feels he wants to align with his godfather. Let's just say it out. His godfather, Akpabio, who is the Senate president, has been pressing all the right buttons. Of course, what more can you say about state capture when the governor is being coerced or being...
Let's see how that pans out. 2027 is already around the corner.
Yeah, of course. Moving to other stories now, where a federal high court in Ikoyi, Lagos, has sentenced Okoli Frank Emeka to 6 months in prison for tampering with Nigerian currency during a social event. The judgment was delivered by Justice Chukwejeku Aneke following Emeka's arraignment by the Lagos Zonal Directorate 1 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Emeka was charged with a single count of naira mutilation in violation of Section 21, subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigerian CBN Act 2007. The offense took place on August 18, 2024 at Al Maruf Garden, Isheri Olofin, Alimosho local government area, where he was found guilty of abusing 2 million naira in cash during a celebration. Okay, talking about the end of spraying money at parties is getting nearer, and for those who have been guilty in time past, and of course, will have to start retracing their steps. And of course, no more the African way of celebrating during parties of throwing money around. Where did you get 2 million in cash? Anyway, those are the rich people who got the luxury
Exactly.
of
And
spraying money.
we
Of course, for
saw
those of us who are still managing the
coming
funds we have,
up.
we don't have to go about spraying money and of course showing off.
And we also saw the likes of Tompolo
Yeah,
trending
I
on
think they
social
had
media.
about 96 million.
Yes, and
They
then
gave to the gods. Okay.
yes,
I think the EFCC will have to go and settle with the gods. I think
exactly. They will have to settle with the
There
court.
be a lot of memes making mockery of the EFCC, saying, "Okay, you've been arrested of you. Let's see how you
How
go
you're going
about
to do
arrest Tompolo." That man, his nickname is government. You know what that means? He's a government on his own. But we'll wait and see how that pans
It's
out.
very funny because even the likes of Iyabojo was, called upon by the EFCC after her daughter's wedding, which, she mentioned that the monies that were sprayed were foreign currencies. And, she was made to understand that even foreign currencies are not allowed to be sprayed
Yeah.
in events in Nigeria. And I'm wondering, why? Are we not supposed to just maintain the naira? When people want to spray other currencies, I don't think that should be a problem. But then, that's Nigeria. And of course, the EFCC, let us hope that they are top of their games. And then maybe they get to do better to arrest more persons who mutilate the naira, or abuse the naira. But we're hoping that their game should be fair played. Let us not have, people who will, be ridiculed for doing that when we have others who are being, set free because they are the government, in quotes.
Yeah, talking about double standards not being the end of it all. Of course, we all remember the Lagos socialites where the kids were involved and how that was swept under the carpet. And we hope that this will go around. But we all know the Nigerian legal system, the justice system, only looks at the poor and turn the blind eye towards the rich.
Well, I'm putting my faith
famous.
on them this time. I hope that they make me, my faith in them would not, reduce.
I think that faith will be used better somewhere else. But it is what it is. To analyze the stories we have, and we'll be having Mr. Peter Nosike, who is the Voice of the People TV analyst. Also, will be joining us in the studio. We have Mr. Dele Fanimo, who is a seasoned reporter and also VOP TV in-house analyst.
All right, well, let us move over to the newspaper review before we get into the topics proper. But I think I'll be taking a punch from the Punch newspaper this morning. Of course, the banner headline says, MFLE's 753 duplexes. Federal government to sell houses to low middle income Nigerians. Interesting. And some persons are asking that these houses should be given to soldiers. Okay. And then the subrider says, reptiles overrun estate as housing experts doubt government's plan. All right. And then on top of the nameplate, we have Owa Obukun Eyes 5 billion naira development fund as Obasanjo Atiku grace coronation. Dad, they have shot me. Heartbreaking moment. Police killed Oyo schoolboy. All right, moving on. We also have a pregnant Ogun woman flee to Benin Republic as healthcare crumbles. All right, Kaduna housewife feeds co-wife's baby acid. That is a very disturbing story. Organ trade. Federal government to launch a registry after Punch investigation. All right, and then we have celebs share battles with addictions. All right, well, this story is very interesting because I remember the persons like Emma Abaga. He came online and he was like that. He wishes he never knew how to roll weed. He wishes he never knew how to roll, the smoke. And then, he did mention that if maybe he never learned how to roll, maybe he wouldn't be so much addicted to smoking. And then we also had another celebrity came up to say that, he has been smoking for about 15 to 14 years and he wishes to stop. And we're having, most of them coming out to wish that they do not smoke, that they had stopped smoking. And then I don't know what is happening in the entertainment industry. What is really going on?
Yeah, talking about addiction, and it's quite a big scourge among celebrities. And sometimes at the beginning, they find it as a style, as a way to look like you're tough. And I've witnessed a certain celebrity who cannot do without holding packs of cigarettes. And it's, it's really sad that even before they come on stage, they are mostly induced and they feel it's just to blend in and show that you're a hard guy, and sometimes to stimulate them in terms of their performance on stage.
Yeah.
And mostly when they're recording,
Gives them inspiration,
yeah, they
right?
feel that's the major form of inspiration. Now, when you're not getting to a stage where you want to leave the music, what about your own personal life? What do you not do with it? Because now you've gotten used to those stimulants and um, talking about hard drugs. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, it becomes a part of your life. Even you start having health issues. We've seen situations where they come up with health issues and start battling and so on and so forth. I just, even in your music, the lyrics encourages drug abuse.
Yeah. I see
And,
them
and at the end
smoking
of the day,
in the
they are
music
not only
videos.
the people affected because now they are encouraging the young ones who look up to them as role models,
Yeah.
and eventually it's a scourge that goes on. They're only talking about their own addiction. What about people
I
they've
look up to
encouraged to
them.
go into such substances and so on and so forth? Well, now let's go to the Guardian newspaper, where boldly on the headlines, the major headline there, Operation Galvanize Southern Nigeria on the rise. And of course, that's 2027 election in focus. And of course, on top of the Guardian newspaper, there is Funke Auto Worry at 98. And of course, she says, I do not know what more to say than to thank God. For those who don't know the Auto Worry family, very, very popular in Nigeria. And of course, we'll get into that. But of course, make sure you read the article and of course get to understand what who Auto Worry is. And of course, still on the top of the Guardian newspaper, we have Sokoto resident will soon feel impact of the skills and entrepreneurship development ministry. And this is coming from Mohammed. What about the other parts of Nigeria? Okay, that's another question that will be asked to Mohammed. And of course, grand rent payment default. Wiki seals PDP secretariat. 4,793 other properties on Monday. So it's countdown. The PDP might be losing their secretariat, courtesy of the FCTA. And of course, the man
He's
who is
really
leading the
working.
pack is supposedly a PDP member. Talking about Wiki. Let's see how that pans
Talking
out.
about double standards.
Very interesting.
He's of the
way.
PDP and then but he's working for the APC.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's untouched.
Yeah, what do you say about the double-edged sword? Anyway, FG insists on local solar panel manufacturing to retain $40 billion assets fund. All right, and still under the Guardian newspaper, this African leaders must strengthen collaboration against escalating security threats, and that is coming from Minister. And under the Guardian newspaper is peeping into Adegore's book, Leadership in Nigerian Civil Service. And of course, talking about the Guardian, definitely the Jaguanized Southern Nigeria. That's a major interesting headline. And talking about, it's not only about the Southwest. Now, the South is going to be Jaguanized. It's already been Jaguanized because we hear that Rivers might be following suit. If Akwa Ibom is already on the trail, and we already have Delta, Edo on the APC. The Southwest, we're already having Ondo, Lagos.
Everybody's getting
everybody's getting Jaguanized. But the question is, it's all about Jaguanizing the governor and the elites. What about Nigerians? Are you going to Jaguanize them by just rhetorics and going to their houses to tell them you have to join the APC ahead of the 2027? Because the votes of the elites, those in government, I'm not sure it's going to be enough to give you millions of votes in the southern part of Nigeria.
But talking about this right now, what happened in 2023? We had a lot of persons, that casted their votes who feel that their votes were not, counted. But then it boils down to the voting system in Nigeria, where we have, a lot of riggings, a lot of things that happen during the election, and then most times, the most important thing is the fact that the governors and these parties, agree to move to the APC or to the ruling party, and then they feel like, leave everything to us. We'll make sure that we deliver your polling unit, our polling unit.
I think for one, I think I want to be different in terms of those who are mostly particular about saying their votes did not count. If their votes did not count, how come in Lagos, Peter Obi won the presidential election result? How come Peter Obi got millions of votes? How come Atiku still got millions of votes? It shows that no matter how, definitely there will surely be rigging in some instances.
Of course.
But definitely the majority of people really show that they really want this candidate and, of course, make a big statement. Of course, we also saw when Jonathan left through the election, people would have said Jonathan as the incumbent would have had a lot of opportunities to rig,
yeah.
but Buhari still found a way to win. So the election will surely still speak, no matter how far. But if the margin is now too close, it's more easier to rig. That's just
very easy.
It's just a game of numbers at the end of the day.
Of course, it's a game of numbers. Well, all right. Let us move over to the Vanguard newspaper, where we have we have who are the people government is satisfying, and then of course on top of the nameplate we have Dangote pledges more to uplift vulnerable people. All right, and then we also have attends Time 100 Impact Dinner. All right, and then we have hidden hands behind Boko Haram. Sympathizers in government military aid Boko Haram, says Zulum. Yes, how informants sabotage nations' war plans. Amadi. All right, and then we also have why politicians help insurgents. All right, we have a lot of things here about the Boko Haram and the insecurity going on in the country. But then we also have here, we can't bomb terror out of Nigeria. All right, Marshal Abubakar. Insurgency will persist without socioeconomic reforms. And then we also have here, Tinubu, Obi, Fayemi, and I at the Vatican by Bianca Ojukwu. And then we also have a 2027 election result have been reading. Democracy is gone, says Shaware. Atiku and Obi, redemption, betrayal, or both? Redemption, betrayal, or both? Because I am surprised that Atiku and Obi and El Rufai are, trying to get into the party called ADC. Damn. But then the question is, who is going to be the vice and who is going to be the president? Because I know very well that Atiku would not want to go as low as becoming the vice.
No,
Peter Obi might not also agree to that.
He cannot be vice president twice.
Of course, he can't.
For Atiku, I think it's going to be him playing the devil's advocate at the end of the day, because a lot of compromise will have to be made if these two big weights will have to join a single political party and form a coalition. Because in this situation, these are the two candidates that gave the APC a run for their money the last election. So it's a big situation. So now they've thrown out a joker to tell us, okay, Atiku for president and Obi for vice president. But the law calculations will be, if he comes and takes in one term, will he leave? And of course, the Northerners will say we also need to have around 8 years. The Southerners had maybe 4 years, but it's not our fault. You guys decided to choose the Northerners. So we'll still do our 8 years. It's not our business, And a lot of calculations will go into that, and that might score to the whole idea. But if a Peter Obi runs as president, I think it's I don't know. The calculations will be very more interesting. Then Atiku plays the role of a godfather.
There has to be a lot of plotting.
A lot of permutations,
yes,
compromise. At the end of the day, will have to be made for any coalition to succeed. In telling Jagaban to go back to Lagos. Anyway, it is
telling Jagaban to go back to Lagos, indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, we have Saturday Tribune, and the banner headline says, "Unpaid ground rent. Government to seal off PDP headquarters on Monday." All right. Parties Tuesday NEC meeting at risk. That's a sub-rider. PDP vows to challenge takeover. Action not politically motivated, says FCTA. And then we also have 4,793 other properties affected. And then on top of the nameplates, we have Obasanjo, Atiku, Sambo, Ayedatiwa, Oyinlola, Arebeshola, Oyetola, Oni, others grace Owa Obukun's coronation. Tinubu Adeleke charge new Oba on unity. And then we also have Areboshola's drama say Tinubu will Lule in 2027. Ex-governor hosts Atiku Sambo in Oshun. And then underneath, we have Supreme Court strikes out 36 states suit over looted funds. So the 36 states suit over looted funds. And then the last one here says, my wife got me arrested by a Moteku over 500,000 naira debt. All right, husband and wife issues. We don't put mouth in it because at the end of the day, they will use you to settle their matter.
Yeah, I think in this case, the wife don't have it. She wants her money back. It seems like maybe the husband has been a serial debtor.
Yeah.
And she decided to invite a paramilitary to come into the matter. And that's a lot of money anyway. And if the man, it looks like the man doesn't have it, because if he has it, I think she wouldn't have to go this far. Maybe
you not see a trend that happened on Twitter where the man said he didn't have money, but then he owed the wife. He mistakenly sent the wife 500,000 naira instead of 50,000 naira.
Yeah.
And the wife refused to send back the money. So I think these things happen, and then you see wives that build houses and make their husbands pay rent. And then you see most of these things actually happen. And then you wonder, where is the teamwork when it has to do with, husband and wife and then, building a home? But,
very, very interesting. I wonder when eventually he gets released and he pays back his debt. Are they still going to be husband and wife?
That's a very
still
good
staying
question.
in one home? I think I would like to follow up on that story to see what eventually happens.
Absolutely.
When the money is paid off, or they will ask him, man, this is a family matter. You don't have to bring this here. Go home back home and settle with your husband.
Issues.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, are we still going to take more papers? Let's go to the Independence, and this one is very interesting. This one says on the Saturday Independent newspaper, National Forest Guards experts doubt, I beg your pardon, sorry. Experts doubt a genuine intention, one government against militarization. Will it tackle poverty or just arm more youths? Queries SAN. Sources depends on community trust. This was coming from an analyst, and it's Tinubu's initiative to battle kidnappers and bandits, government explains. Okay, still there on the Saturday Independent, there's a trainee aircraft crash lands at Ilorin Airport as NSIB commences investigation. Okay, it means that the talking about the trainee was not have gone properly or listened to the trainers for the crash to happen. Okay, and this one says minister threatens to sanction airlines and lifting passengers without entry visas. Does that really happen? Okay, very interesting. And Tinubu building institutions to secure Nigeria. And this one is coming from the defense minister. Okay, talking about someone who understands the institution, coming from the way he ruled Zamfara. Anyway, women crave safe spaces where vulnerability isn't exploited. This one is coming from Aisha Adamu. And under the newspaper, the DSS provides 20 million naira compensation, free Medicare to victim of accidental shooting. Who's the victim here? Okay, you have to go into the Saturday Independent to know who the victim that is getting 20 million naira from the DSS. And talking about on top of the paper, APC's endorsement of Tinubu for second term timely. And this is coming from Dafinon. Party must conduct presidential primary. No room for consensus candidacy. This one is coming from Udo Garaya. Okay, it will have to be a major broker in the party to tell them what to do, because it looks like the party has been Javanized and the South will be Javanized along with it.
All right, let us see how everybody gets to be Jagabanized by, what's happening in Nigeria. Well, moving on to the main topic of discussion. Ipob criticizes Kanu's trial as unfair, raises alarm over national implications. Details of this after this break. Stay with us.
Step into a world where stories unfolds, secrets unravel, and dreams come alive. Every story has a legacy. Every legacy holds the power to inspire. A unique interview series that celebrates the lives of Nigeria's elder statesmen and women through their remarkable journeys in the military, diplomacy, public service, academia, medicine, and beyond. Conversation that transcends generations, offering guidance to youth leaders, diplomats, technocrats, and future change makers. We unveil the wisdom, resilience, and achievements that shapes our nation and the world. Join us every Sunday on Voice of the People Television. Reminiscence, legacies that leads the way, stories that lives on.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more.
Join me on Sundays every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People TV.
Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. VOP this morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Welcome back to the Morning Buzz this very beautiful Saturday morning. Of course, the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB has denounced the ongoing trial of its leader, Nnamdi Kanu, calling it a state-managed show of shame and accusing the Nigerian government of conducting a politically motivated and ethically biased prosecution. All right, in a statement by spokesperson Emma Powerful, IPOB accused the Nigerian government of using the judiciary for ethnic persecution and warned that the continued injustice could threaten Nigerians' unity. The group criticized the credibility of court witnesses and urged the presiding judge to uphold justice. Of course, while the government insists Kanu must face charges, human rights groups have raised concerns over the fairness and transparency of the trial. Of course, we'll still have in the studio to make sense of the stories is Mr. Peter Anasike, Voice of the People TV analyst. Also in the studio, we have Mr. Dele Fanimo, a seasoned reporter and also VOP in-house analyst. And from our Benin studio, we have Dr. Bright Onuvokuko. He is a medical doctor, a public affairs analyst, a political analyst, commentator, human rights activist, advocate as well. Well, I'll start by saying good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Anasigan, and also good morning, Mr. Dele Fanimo. You're looking all bright and shiny. The Friday must have been good to you.
Very good.
All right, very interesting. Talking about the Nnamdi Kanu's case. We've seen a new twist. It looks like all of a sudden the DSS and the federal government are interested in bringing forth all they have against Nnamdi Kanu. But it looks like Ipob wouldn't have it. They're not interested in what is going to happen. They've been saying, try this guy. Let's know what you're really trying this man for. But now Ipob is saying, they're saying they're not interested. This looks like a public persecution. What do you think, Mr. Telefan? In all of this?
You see, at some point, you need to be a little bit circumspect of running foul of the law, because any case that is currently in court, there's a level at which you can comment on it so that you don't have a sub judice hanging on your neck. But that does not mean we cannot talk politics around a case. But I'm not going to dwell on the evidence before the court. But that's it's like you are trying to preempt the judges even before they arrive at their conclusions. So, but the politics behind it, for me, up until now, I've not seen any credible link that could convict Kanu of treason, based on the evidence put before us and reported by the media. So to that extent, for me, I would rather, if we couldn't get political solution to this impasse that had lingered for more than 7 years, then let's go the way of the judiciary. After all, whatever comes out of it, it still has the second and third layer, which is the appeal court and the Supreme Court, to go. And so, justice must be administered, but it must also be seen to have been administered. And justice also demands equity and fairness. So there are many lawyers that are interested in this case. There are many lawyers following this case up. And the judiciary cannot afford to turn a blind eye on fairness and equity in adjudicating on this matter. So we are waiting to see the outcome of this case. And then one thing again is that IPOB should, for now, mellow down and follow this case the way it should follow it. If there are any reasons to raise alarm, well, why not? But then, on the basis of evidence before the court, I think it is not within their purview to begin to say this evidence is right or not. Let the judge do their job. Let the judges do their job.
All right, Mr. Peter Anosike. Well, Imal Powerful said on Friday that he is accusing the government of having, orchestrated a biased and politically motivated trial. And he also made a statement warning that the country is approaching a breaking point. Now, a lot of persons are of the view that this might, prompt a lot of persons in the Southeast to shut the Southeast down, because we know very well that we're still, having the seat at home in most major cities in, the Southeast, if not all. And then now he's saying that the country is, going through a breaking point. How do you judge what he just said?
Well, for me, as a philosophy student back in the days, we were told, if you start with yes, continue with yes. If you start with no, continue with no. Once you contradict yourself, you've lost your case. So the whole country have been saying, if you have anything against Nnamdi Kanu, go to court. Instead of detaining him that at the DSSM custody. So he is now going through a legal process. And for me, I prefer a court setting him free than any president saying, I have released the Nnamdi Kanu, understand? And maybe expecting that's a favor in return. So I prefer let him go through court processes, understand? But again, opinions doesn't affect cases in the court, because what a judge makes use of is the evidence before him, not what people say outside. So government is to present what they have against Nnamdi Kanu, and there should be cross-examination at the end of the day. So it is the weight of evidence that determines who wins in the court. So he has assembled some people to defend him. So Ipob should allow them to do it. Understand? So then let me see the court, the prison that they will jail Nnamdi Kanu. Understand? Let me see whether it's Kirikiri prison or Kuje prison.
All right, I think we look at this broadly. We've seen uprisings from different parts of the country. We remember what happened in the Niger Delta when the militants went to the creeks and started threatening to burst the pipelines and so on and so forth. They even did some destruction. Then
That's
amnesty.
The uprising, no. So I don't know where you have seen.
I'm just
many uprisings.
Of course, some Boko Haram started like an uprising, and at the end of the day, we saw a situation where amnesty was granted to that of the Niger Delta. And some people will say that that was what encouraged a lot of other uprisings that started coming up, like groups who wanted self-determination and so on and so forth. Now, why is it that the solution that applies to the Niger Delta cannot be applied to other regions where people are coming out asking that they want to be out of the country? Of course, why is that solution not being applied to the case? Why not have a situation where Ipob will have a discussion with the government? Let's look at the problems of the Southeast, solve it, and stop you from...
These are two different issues.
Okay, what's the different issues there? Please explain.
The men, understand, Tompondo, Ateka Tom, and the others, we are fighting for resource control. We want to control the resources in our part of the country. They were not asking for self determination.
Okay.
So these are two different issues. So Ipob said that they are not being justly treated in the country. Okay. So they want to separate from the country. We don't know the vision of Boko Haram. Understand me?
Boko Haram simply means against Western education. At least that's the meaning of the Boko Haram.
So different situations should be handled differently.
Okay.
Understand? So Ipob is not asking for resource control. Understand me? So it's a different thing, and now the Kanu is in court.
What I'm really particular, can there be a compromise, for instance? Okay, so that this guy.
I don't want a compromise. I want a court process.
Mr. Telephone, can there be a situation where they will find a solution?
I would have,
a common ground.
I would have loved political solution to this before now. But since everybody is saying, okay, let's just try this man and see how culpable he is in this case. Well, for me, the case is on accelerated trial. And so, what should have been done in the past that would have accelerated the process and then get to a concluding part is now being done. Almost every day now, they go to court to give evidence. I think by next week, the federal government should have wrapped up its case, and then the defense will start its own
cross-examination. Cross-examination.
That's what I'm saying. The defense will start cross-examination before they also bring in their own evidence and witnesses. So, the way it is going now, maybe in the next 1 month or two, we should get to the concluding stage where judgment will come. And so, if whichever way the judgment goes, the defendant has opportunity of appealing to the appeal court, and if the outcome of the appeal court is not favorable, then you go to the Supreme Court. So there are other layers that you can also explore to fight your case. And because one thing again is that this is a case that attracts capital punishment. The minimum you can get in this kind of case is maybe life imprisonment if you are guilty.
Okay.
And then even execution by hanging. So, and that's why I said the trauma of going through this would have been averted before now if there was a political solution to this crisis. Kanu has a right to want to get freedom for his people. And the curious thing about it is nobody has said that they have found arms, or maybe he's importing arms to arm his people against the state. So for me, I think you can't convict on a lesser sentence for a capital offense. You can't say he's guilty, but he can go for 2 years imprisonment. If you have established treason against him, it has to be either life imprisonment or death sentence. So, but I'm sure that it's also a way, the way I see it, is also a way of finding permanent solution to it. Because if the federal government decides to free him, he will be freed with conditions like don't talk to the press, don't go to see this place, you cannot form political association and all that. But if he's discharged and acquitted by a competent court, that means he is free as a citizen once again to do whatever he wants to do under the ambit of the law. So I think those who are angling for trial, they know why they are angling for trial.
Okay.
And those who feel there should be a political solution, before now, they had their reasons, you know. But government has chosen the part of the judiciary to let us close this case once and for all. So let's just wait until the judgment, which is coming in a very short while.
Well, of course, I think that's where we'll anchor this particular conversation for today.
All right, now moving on to the educational sector, where why candidates in Delta State to take exam in darkness depend on torch lights. We'll discuss this after this break. Stay with us. You're still watching the Morning Buzz on Voice of the People TV.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Still the morning boss and voice of the people television. All right, we're just talking about the WAEC candidates at the Unity Model School in Asaba, Delta State. Were forced to take an exam in darkness on May 23rd, 2025 due to a delayed paper delivery and lack of electricity. Originally scheduled for 2 p.m., the exam began around 6 p.m. with students using torch to write their exams. And of course, a video online captured the scene, and criticism from a witness raising concerns over the treatment of students and poor exam conditions. And of course, that's the video you're watching. Of course, seeing the torchlights. How come a cell phone was allowed into the exam hall? Okay, a lot of things are already started good.
Yeah, it's a woman that filmed this.
Who's the woman? Is she a candidate or a mother to one of the candidates?
I think so, because most of the parents actually brought their words, and then the woman was complaining that even during their time when they used the
exam is already looking void. If the parents could have access to the exam hall and start filming. Okay, what stops malpractice?
You need to protect your child. You don't know how safe that environment was at that time.
This is already malpractice. What if the parents come in with chips?
That's not the bone of contention. The bone of contention here is the fact that WAEC actually did not make proper preparations to make sure that the students writing that exam.
I think it's not WAEC. It's not WAEC. It has to do with the school too, because there's something about discretion.
Okay.
If the paper didn't arrive on time, why not postpone it to the next day? We now have a situation, or postpone it to another day, write to WAEC, okay, your paper arrived late. We've seen discretion. Discretionary
let's take a look at the video. Let's listen to the audio.
Okay.
They are using torchlight to write WAEC. Even during my time of lantern, we not use torchlight write WAEC. It's not okay. Paper that is supposed to start by 2 is starting. They brought it by 6. No light in the school, and it's hiding. It's using torchlight to write WAEC in Unity Model School, Asaba, state capital, not in a village. Live and direct. WAEC must write exam by night. What's the name of this paper? People are still writing. See them now with WAEC calculator. Writing by night. After they will say Tinubu is bad. This is wickedness. Writing exam by night. They are supposed to bring this paper by 2. They stay till night. After they will say it's Tinubu. It's Tinubu that told WAEC to come. He's collecting their papers that they should go.
Meant to be for 2 p.m. But of course, we saw that the lady also said that the paper arrived around 7 p.m. and then they still had to take their exam. But it makes me wonder if we're really moving forward or we're moving backwards in Nigeria, because I know very well that a lot of money is being put into place to make sure that these exams, is being taken. I was just reading how much Lagos State put into the WAEC exam for 2025. Also, Delta State, a lot of cities putting millions of naira just to make sure that these exams, go on. And then we're asking, where are we heading to as a country? Well, of course, we have the gentleman in the studio to still analyze the stories.
Mr. Delefanimo is already looking like a father who is not pleased. And Mr. Anosuke definitely is a very, very strong advocate of education being done properly. And if you take a look at this matter, where does the blame go? Where does the buck stop?
There are 2 sides to this.
Yes.
One, the helplessness of WAEC in this. Then 2, lack of infrastructure in schools. This is the same Delta State. They are claiming that an ex-governor stole over $1 trillion. And yet, this is a model school, not just ordinary school, in the state capital. So now let's start with the exam body. You see, this is West African Examination Council, not National Examination Council. So simultaneously, as they are writing here, they are writing in Ghana, they are writing in Gambia, they are writing in other places. So the exam must be taken simultaneously. So there could have been some logistics problem in the course of moving the papers, because the papers are kept in a safe place. In some places, they keep it in the central bank. And until the day of the exam, those papers are not released to the Ministry of Education or to the WAEC officials for distribution. So between where they collected these exam papers and the point at which the students would come and write the exam, there could have been some itches. But that is not to exonerate them completely. You understand? There should have been a communication between the school authorities where this exam is taking place and the WAEC zonal office in Delta, that there is a itch, and then get feedback from them, either to cancel the exam and sort it out at a later date for students to come and write, or find an alternative in a school that is close by where they could have surplus answer scripts and question papers that can be deployed to there. Because Asaba is still within Asaba.
Yeah.
There could be, I mean, there won't be any, there won't be much logistics problem there. Because wherever in Asaba, the whole of Asaba, you can move from one point to the other in less than 1 hour.
Very
so there will be some question papers that are still locked in the vault of either the central bank or the office of WAEC that can be deployed to make sure that these students don't suffer this trauma. That's on the side of WAEC. Now on the side of government, if you know what they call a model school, that is, that school is built purposely for other schools to emulate. A model school should have all the trappings of a model school, including electricity. In fact, in some model schools, they have ceiling fan in times of heat. They have good quality laboratories. So that if a contractor is awarded contract to renovate a school, the first place you go is to go and find out what is happening in any model school around. There are not always many. In the whole of Asaba, you may not have more than 5 or 3. So, if a model school is suffering this in a state capital, now imagine what back street schools in far-flung places in a week to teach. And the cumulative effect of all this is that we are creating a class society akin to that of India. There are some people in India that they have resigned themselves to fate. They cannot cross over to the other side. Their brain is skewed towards accepting their fate in this part of the end. And then there is one here that feels that these people were made when God was not too serious about making human beings. So, at the end of the day, these students that are still in Asaba and they are treated this way, now imagine what they would do to that student in the hinterland. Now, when you now place these two people side by side by society, you now begin to blame this one that had gone through 6 years of secondary education without any interaction in interface with computer system. And yet you say, do you know why some people fail JAMB? Some people are seeing this thing that we take for granted here, that we buy for our children. They are seeing it maybe 2 weeks to exam. Yeah. So they want to rush them through what they need to rush them through. At the end of the day, you see a student, he has 4 questions, he has question papers, 4 to answer. Once he gets to the end of the first question and he sees submit, he submits. And the moment you submit, you can't go back to the second question or third question. You are finished.
So people are very slow in understanding.
So now you see why we are really not getting it right in this country. The money that is in the hands of private hands in this country is enough to do well. Is enough to raise the standard of education, is enough to equip our health centers, and is enough to build. You don't need more than 50 billion naira to build a world-class hospital, tertiary hospital. And you don't need more than 25 billion to equip it. This 75 billion is in hands of individuals in multiple folds. And we pamper them. They say, come and do plea bargain. After stealing what you and I, that child in that class, if that child fails, the governor should be responsible for his failure. Not that the guy is not brilliant. I've always said it. There is nobody that is not brilliant in this world. I've not seen one. It depends on your exposure and opportunities. So it's really, really crazy. That's why when we begin to analyze some of these things and then locate it in a proper way, that's when you know the enormity of corruption, the enormity of bad leadership in this country. Bad leadership has happened on these children at that tender age. And the trauma of that may remain with some of those children for the rest of their lives.
Mr. Onosike, we just went through the situation of JAM. And we heard that some people were even arrested for being culpable of hacking into the system of JAM. That's another story. And now the educational sector is getting more attention now with this torchlight situation. Mr. Onosike, if your kids were in that school at that point in time, they were told to write the exam at 6 p.m. And Mr. Onosike is a very interesting activist. I don't know whether he will allow his kids to be put into that in that situation.
Or maybe stay with them like the woman.
Jerry, you are talking. Did you take WAEC at all?
Yes,
as we are saying that they should when you are talking about description, you postpone till the next day. You don't do that.
It has to be
so why
you don't do, because what you postponed, all the children will get the questions, because you cannot go and set a different one.
All right.
Locally.
Yeah, everybody is taking the same exam at the same time. So that's why it must be taken that very day.
So the questions might have leaked.
It will leak immediately.
But then...
So excuse me, that's in 2013, I was among a World Bank team that went to Rivers on Delta on MDG, Millennium Development Goal. The governor, Emmanuel Udaran, was boasting that that people are telling him, governor, it's enough, it's enough. If you finish all this thing, which one will your successor do? Understand me? That people were telling him that to calm down in development. Understand? If you finish everything in Delta, which one will his successor do? And this is Delta State. And one thing struck me, that's when we went from Asaba to Ugendi, that to commission that's a water project.
Okay.
So we were in a coastal bus. Some of the people there were white men from the World Bank. Then because then others, everybody was speaking English. So they assumed, understand me, that there was no Igbo person there. So as we are going, one of the Delta State government officials called somebody in Ugendi and told them that we are on our way to commission the borehole. Let them just buy 5 liters of fuel and pump maybe 10 liters of water. So that if we get there, once they open or the tap and water gush out, job done. You see, this corruption.
Of course.
No water was there. As we are going, one of them spoke in Ipob that they should buy 5 liters of fuel and put in the gen there and pump out maybe 10 liters of water into the tank, overhead tank. So as we get there, they will open it and water will gush out. So journalists will take pictures. Water commissioned. Mind you, that 10 liters of water will finish here even before we get back to Asaba. Mind you, governor has commissioned a borehole. That could be what happened in those schools. Understand me? They may even go to borrow maybe sending funds for people sending them. Once they come commission, they will go and hand it over. Because this is Asaba. Those WAEC papers are in Asaba, not anywhere. So if they can delay by 6 hours in Asaba, imagine what will happen in the other far areas like Isenuku, Ibuzo, Abo, which are very far from Asaba. And we only heard this because of that woman. There may be many that we didn't hear. So now, this thing will forever be a story for those children to tell.
All right. Well,
I think for me, I stayed some part of my primary school life in Ogwashiku, which is just about 30-45 minutes
that's a problem. Yes.
to Asaba. And I witnessed when Governor Ibori was governor of Delta State. That was at 1999, 2000, 2001. And I must say, I witnessed his major role in revitalizing the educational sector. It was a major project for the governor. In terms of all of the schools were remodernized with pipe-on water, with good classrooms and chairs and so on. It spread on even to the next governor and the next. The thing is that, with that being said, I say I want to say they've done maybe well when it comes to the educational sector. So the school, for instance, is now maintenance of this facility. Because the governor can, for instance, build a good facility for the school. What is now happening to the management in terms of the principal of that school? What measures did he take? Because as at 2 p.m., the papers have not arrived. Did they do anything to provide generators in situations where the papers will come late in the night to make sure that there is power supply if they were going to write these exams at night? We've seen principals taking decisions without considering the plight of the students who is going to go through the situation. We should not exonerate the principals and those who are the examiners who are supposed to have taken proactive action.
Are you doubting a situation of one principal carrying the generator of the school? As it's been
so people need to be sacked and fired. Investigations need to be carried out.
Let's hazard a guess.
Yes.
In this, what makes you think that you have bulbs, you have electricity in that school in the first place?
That's another big question.
That's
as a model school, like you said, they're supposed to have electricity. It should have.
Yes, they should.
Look, my secondary school, my alma mater, Aquinas College, Akure, one of the eyebrow schools, owned by the Catholic. When government took it over, we fought for more than 18 years for us to wrestle it out of government's grip. When I went for reunion about 2 years ago, none of us in that my set, 1981 set, none of us could say any good thing about that school anymore. We were sort of shedding tears for that school. Recreation facilities had gone. Sharks, shanties took over a school at the heart of the town. And you can't even stay in 5 minutes in any class that is teaching, because the stench that will come to assail your nose, you would almost choke. When you have a class that when we were there, we were just 35 in a class. But I looked at the register of that particular class, it was 135.
Well,
It wasn't as if the building was stretched.
it's the same classroom.
Same classroom.
Well,
Now, how does a teacher stand in front of a class and there is no passage? How will that teacher monitor somebody that is misbehaving at the back? When I was lecturing, in fact, I did only one semester in a polytechnic. I backed off. You know why? Anytime I want to give tests, when I remember that I have to mark 350 scripts in a department,
you just get tired.
I beg, I know they do. That's as bad as our education is.
Yeah.
And nobody's paying attention. Nobody. And why are they not paying attention? They have stolen so much that they can send their children to other parts of the world to school. But the thing is, there's a caveat. Awolowo said it in the 50s. He said, if you train your children and neglect the children of the poor, the children of the poor will not allow your children to rest. Because the children of the poor that couldn't avail themselves of the opportunity of what the children of the rich are getting, one, they'll become envious, hatred will set in, malice will set in, and then that opportunity they have, that brilliance that couldn't turn to good deeds for the country, will now be channeled towards negative tendencies. And then they become criminals. And when they become criminals, they are not going to the bush to go and chase rabbits. It is their fellow human beings that they will unleash it on. And then you now begin, instead of you using your money to provide amenities, you use it to buy guns and bullets. To fight the same people that you just changed in their prime years. How will this child in that school compete with somebody in King's College, Lagos?
But you know very well that this reminds me of most of the private schools that we have in the country at the moment. I don't think a private school would, have allowed such a thing to happen in their schools. And that's where we have a lot of them, have a high school fees. And then even the normal Nigerian cannot afford going to private schools because most times it feels like the private schools are doing a lot better than the government schools at this moment.
Peter attended UNA. I attended UN. If we go back to those schools today, I'm not too sure you'll be happy with what you will see. And I'm not likely to be happy with what I see. Because my son went through UI. I didn't allow him to stay in the hostel.
All right.
Because it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Bright Onivokuko, who is a medical doctor, a public affairs analyst, and a political analyst. Good morning for hanging on with us on the morning buzz. We were just talking about the situation in Delta State. It's great to have you with us on the morning buzz. And you are also a father, and I would like to put you on the spot. How would you feel that your kids will be put in that situation? How would you react?
Well, put me on the spot is okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a pathetic situation that you can see that it didn't just start even with the exam. First and foremost, you look at where are these children learning from. Why as an institution has a standard is West Africa Examination Council as well. We should be able to see comparison between what is happening in Nigeria and what is happening in other countries. It is expected that there should be a standard for before the children are going to write the exam, or even while they are writing the exam. Now, exam in the dark is a big challenge, considering that I can't see, I don't know any part of the timetable that says exam will be in the evening or probably in the night. It's supposed to be maybe from in the morning till latest maybe 5 p.m. or thereabout. So whatever would have made the exam to spill into the night shows that there was a lacuna somewhere, and instead of them making them to write that exam in the night, they could have written the exam the next day or reschedule the exam. Because as a father, and even as a medical doctor, there will be so much anxiety on the children. And now we are looking at issues of security in this environment. So while you are writing the exam, you are thinking how safe you are and so many other things that will come. So it's a big failure on the system and it's a slap. And like we rightly mentioned just now, we are just trying to recover from that of JAM and see this one again happening in WAEC. But painfully, people are not resigning because there is actually a divide in what we are saying. Contractors are on one side and academicians are on one side. So if you see those conducting the exam, maybe the principals or whatever, they are into the academics. Then you have those who will work out issues of logistics to ensure that papers arrive at the time they should be. But now spilling into the night without provision for the student to see, they are faced with anxiety, faced with time management and so many other things, is a no-no. It's not good. And it's not going to help the situation. So somebody has to go down for something like this. Otherwise, they keep doing what they are doing. And this particular one now is the one that has caught the attention of the media. There could be some other parts that didn't even get attention of the media, and it's even worse off. So WAEC as an institution should go back, investigate this, and beyond just apologizing, some persons should be sanctioned. That's my take on it.
Mr. Anosuke, if the result of this exam comes tomorrow and the students fail, would they be blamed for not writing well, or they did not do well?
Certainly not, because one, psychologically, once the exam is supposed to start by 2, 3, 4, 5, understand me, you're already off. So comprehension that you are unstable. You are unstable, and then how many of them has that touch? Because ordinarily, if my son is going there to take an exam, I will not allow him that to go with a phone. Understand me? Yes. So maybe over 50% of the students did not take the
examination. Because I'm trying to imagine, having a lot of parents bring their children and they live in a very far areas and maybe waiting from 2 p.m. up until 7 p.m. Most of them, might be worried as to where to spend the night.
And you will see maybe one person will touch 5 other students coming together or cross around.
How would there not be malpractice? It's no longer an exam because
it's not an exam. It's not an exam.
So who's to be held responsible?
For me, the school authority, the vigilator who is supposed to feed WAEC office in Delta that something unusual is going on, and then the officials of WAEC who should be proactive enough. I said, there is nowhere. I've been to Delta. I've been to Asaba several times. There is no part of Delta, even if you trek
under 1 hour. Under 1 hour.
Under 1 hour, you get there. So they should have done something to make sure that
even at least the vehicle
that exam starts at 4 o'clock.
Even if the vehicle breaks down, there's Okada. Understand me? Or there's Okada. So for me,
so everybody along that chain.
WAEC first of all.
Yes.
WAEC first of all, because one day I was in a school. I saw a parent harassing the proprietor of a school. Every day my son comes here, you don't punish him, you're just interested in collecting school fees. I will take my son to another school. I said, excuse me, sir. That your son is coming to school, that is not the fault of the school. Understand me? Understand me? So it's the fault of the parents.
Yeah. But also the school is supposed to also, check
the responsibility of the school starts from when the child arrives at the gate.
But even, but Mr. Dilly, Mr. Fanimo, but you also know even when you come to school late, you're being flogged or given a punishment for that as well.
You see, the point is, those days, while we were flogged for coming late to school, is because most of the time, some of our parents that were farmers would have left early in the morning, 5 a.m., 5:30. But because you are lackadaisical, you just want to stroll in at any time. So the teacher feels that if he flogs you today, you would be conscious of time and tomorrow and wake up enough. Those days, some of us, to even take a bath is always a problem. The whole street will know that your parents is chasing you around to have your bath. So what I'm doing that, you're already late.
What I'm trying to say, responsibility of the school starts from when the child arrives at the school gate.
Yes.
Understand me? Yes. Whatever happened there from anywhere is not the responsibility of the school. So a child coming late is that of the parents and the child.
So the fault now goes to the school authorities, and then why?
So for me, the responsibility of the school starts from when the paper arrives at the school.
What about the result of this exam? Is it going to stand? Is it going to be void?
Because from what I'm seeing, I believe me that we will have a lot of malpractice in that exam.
The important thing now is, if a school in Asaba, the state capital, is experiencing this, then the searchlight should be beyond Asaba
to the whole
state, and let people talk. You will be surprised before the end of next week, the deluge of petitions that will come to the state headquarters of WAEC. You will be shocked.
Doctor, you have something to share with us on this matter.
Yeah, I also want to say that Mr. Anosike saying that the responsibility of the school starts when the children get to the school. But I still make bold to say that it's not just the school alone. We also have a role to play. For us speaking now, different levels of when we attended school. But farm, so I didn't have that. But there was something that was glaring. If you see yourself still on the street by 8 a.m., you'll be ashamed. And we've also lost community value. Today, you see children maybe by 9 a.m., 10 a.m., still wandering the streets. There's nothing wrong, whether the child is for you or not, or whether you know the parents or not. Ask that child, what are you still doing outside at this particular time? You know, sometimes maybe they are trekking somehow. You can give them a lift, take them to the school. But today, we are only concerned about our children, and we don't feel anything about that for the others. Like you said, and all of us said, the children will refuse to train, will not allow our children have peace. So we should not blame the school alone. We should also blame the society that has lost value. All right. Like I mentioned just now, some persons are saddled with the responsibility of delivering those exam sheets or whatever. They are seeing it as contracts. They are not seeing it as the fact that this exam will affect the future of these children. Why should come up and hold their standard? It was in this, like in Benin, for example, when we're writing the same exam is started by 9. Virtually all the schools have started at that same time. So what is happening, even in this digital age that we are in? So the standard should be checked.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, you did mention when you say students on the streets at a particular time. I do recall a few years ago in Enugu, where the government of Enugu State said, you know, when you see a child that should be in school by 7:38 and they're on the streets by 9, that they should be ridiculed. And I remember then, once it's 8:30 and you're not in school, the gates are being shut and you're asked to go back home. It continued at that time up until I think the government left, another government came in and then it became something else entirely. So now I'm going to ask this question to the gentleman here. How does the government actually come in when it has to do with children, going to school late? Because I know very well that, like you said, in those days, I know how most of us, had to cut some grass, were flogged for coming to school late. But then it feels like most of these things do not actually happen now. And then you see students 9 a.m., they're wearing their uniforms on the streets. And then you're wondering, who are the parents and the teachers of these children?
You see, sometimes when we want to put blame on the doorstep of the parents, I have a different opinion. For instance, an average home today in Nigeria, except you are directly involved with government or you are indirectly involved with government, maybe as a contractor, as whatever, no man on his own, except you are into business, but an average man today in Nigeria needs the support of the wife to be able to take care of his home. Now, imagine a situation where the father goes out as early as 5:30 a.m. and the mother is a banker. She must resume at her desk 7:30 to open to customers at 8:30. Now, that child is left alone with the house help, who does not have any authority over that child. Then, are you going to blame the parents? Because if they don't go to that particular office on that day, that child will not even go to school because they won't have money to pay his school fee. That's one. Then two,
blame the parents.
You see, civilization has killed whatever you people are talking about.
Yeah.
I'm a strict disciplinarian. But now imagine if Peter is on the street driving and he sees my son and we don't have any connection, I don't know him, he doesn't know me, and he says, my friend, what are you doing outside the school? Enter this car. I can assure you, if Peter escapes alive, he will thank his stars. Because he can be mistaken for an abductor or a kidnapper.
You're correct.
You understand? Then two, even when you get to the school, we have read, we have seen parents going with thugs to go and beat up a teacher for scolding the child.
Kids, for scolding your kids,
You see, one good thing is when you are, my father told me once that when you are dancing in a square, village square, he said, make sure you are not too far away from the drummer. Because if you are too far away from the drummer, disgrace awaits you. You know how the disgrace will come? The drummer is here and you are about 50 meters away from him. If he stops drumming, you walk past, because all the accolades of dancing would have been taken off you. You are now walking down like a passenger or a spectator. And that is what is happening to us in Nigeria today. America, that is so pervasive, permissible, that we are aping in Nigeria. Don't touch my son. Don't touch my daughter. Don't scold my son. Don't scold my daughter. Trump has just returned corporal punishment to school in America. And Americans are not kicking.
Religious knowledge too.
Religious knowledge has been returned. Here we are cancelling history. And we are aping them. If your child does not speak like an American now, you are in trouble. Even in this industry, some broadcasters, you have to strain your ears to listen to them. Because they must, in fact, the worst culprits are the airline hostesses. You hardly hear what they say. They talk through their nose. Whereas I've not seen an American that's coming to ape an African in his diction and the language. That neocolonialism is killing us, and is part of what is killing our systems. Not just education in Nigeria. And let's look at architecture. Those days, you can saunter into your friend's house, but you can live in a community, in an estate, and you never know your next door neighbor till you die. Everybody's minding their business. So when thieves come, who are you going to call? Is it the neighbor that you just pass by?
So in this situation, the system,
so
something wrong with the system.
The way we have structured our lives, our patterned our life, is also affecting our education.
Very interesting. And that means we need leadership that will take us there.
We don't need leadership.
If Donald Trump is leading the
no,
way,
see,
we need leaders.
we don't need leadership in that.
Okay, what do we need?
The smallest unit. The smallest unit in society is the family. It begins with the family. If you whatever value you ingrain in your children is what they will reflect out there. You understand?
Okay.
If you reflect the value of anything that comes, let me grab. Your child will see it because you are the first role model. Will see grabbing as the ideal.
Wow. We're pressed for time. Doctor, because you said the mothers, I heard you trying to chip the mothers have a role to play. What is not happening? Because even the Gen Zs, let's not know, the Gen Zs are going to get married one day, imagine their kids in schools. It's going to be a very difficult situation. It's going to be a difficult situation. Okay, Doctor, you want to say something?
I know we are pressed with time, but we need to call on the government of the day. We need to have a standard in our education because the proliferation of private schools is a problem. I don't have issue with private schools, but let them have a standard of operation. If that standard is there, then it could actually help. This idea of business, once you pay, you can go ahead and do anything. Like somebody mentioned about parents breaking talk. If a parent should know that you beat up a teacher or you assault a teacher in a particular school, your child can be blacklisted not to be in any school in the country. You will begin to think twice. But again, we need to have a standard of operation. Whether you are in school A, you are in school B, or school C, there should be a standard. And those standards should be monitored, evaluated, and upheld. But whatever thing that is playing in WAEC today is a fallout of what has been happening. Are you aware that many of the students who are writing the exam today did not even attend classes in their schools? They were in lecture houses attending classes. And what does that tell us? It's a challenge.
What does that really tell us? Mr. Anosike, the education sector, now, the governor, for instance, if you ask the government, they'll say they've provided all the facilities to make sure that schools like this model school has the facility to go past situations like this. But normally, an exam is not supposed to take place in the night.
Well, for me, I am very fortunate that I attended school in the good old days. That's that means so.
Good old days.
Good old days.
Interesting.
So, yes. So all hands should be on deck. The parents, government, and the school. I'm talking about Delta State, which I know very well. That Udegan as a governor, or there was a law that they passed, any child that is of school age that is found hawking when others are in school should be arrested. When he's arrested, then the parents should come and the parents should pay a fine. So that was just to make sure that every child of school age is in the school. That was a resolution that Emmanuel Udagan made as a governor of Delta State. So Delta did well. That's Iburi and the Udagan did well to make sure that they upgrade the standard of education in Delta State. So now and today we are in an internet age. Teachers, parents should have the phone numbers of their teachers and vice versa. Understand me? If a teacher is in the school, wait till 8, a child has not come. He should call out the parents. I've not seen your son or your daughter in the school.
A government school now?
I'm talking of teachers.
No.
Whether private or public.
Because you cannot say that about public schools because we know how many
teachers have phones.
How many?
You have
1,500.
Wait now. You have 135 students in the class, and you are teaching an arm of about 7 A, B, C, D, E, F. Multiply 135 by 7. How much airtime would you buy?
To call all the students who miss school.
Given your limited
So
resources.
you see where private schools are actually taking over in Nigeria. A lot of private schools are really taking over because most of them feel like they are the ones that are, care more about these children.
There's no magic to private schools. What is there is simply supervision. You will see most of these private schools, the highest qualification is NCE, and yet, without influence, without buying papers, they make good grades year in, year out. Why? A teacher must teach, must reflect moral values.
And the proprietor,
is always on their neck. Scheme of service, what do they call this book that you must show the principal every morning? What you want to teach is always there. So the teacher, scheme of work, yes. Thank you. When you have that, you know that you are constantly on your toes. And so you must deliver. Go to a public school where the least qualification is degree. Some with masters, some with PhD. Now, the women, apologies to Ma, they carry 2 bags to class. One on the table. Signify we are here. The other one is in the next market at Alaba selling.
Some will come with Mendon.
Distribute to the class.
Yes, and the
to help them. So now, even some will say, children, put your head on the table and sleep for 10 minutes before the people stand up. The man or woman is far away somewhere. She has a chemist somewhere. So how would that child, that one is not conscious that somebody is watching over him for every action and inaction, how would that child be serious? Then you now have his mate that is not as equally endowed intellectually, being monitored 24/7. How would that one not excel than the one that is let loose without any supervision? So supervision is the only difference between that private and the
because this thing you just said now reminded me of, I did education and I thought for a while, because I remember how 2 weeks before school resumes, every teacher would bring their scheme of work.
Exactly.
And you teach the school owner. You bring all the materials you're supposed to use. You teach the teachers as if you're teaching the students. If you're supposed to bring a spoon or a knife or whatever, you must make sure all these things are there. And then, even when you are at it, you must make sure you decorate your class. So that when the students come back to school, even without you teaching for maybe 2 days or a day, the things in the classroom make them understand that, oh yeah, this is the thing we're going to teach for the week. And then it makes me wonder if we cannot achieve these things in the today's school. Because you see how a class is being divided into 4. Then you'd always have the section of the people that are very smart. They put them in one corner. They teach them something a little bit different from the normal thing.
But
and they
it's
have,
not right.
No. Let me tell you the reason why they do that. Let me tell you the reason why they do that actually.
You read philosophy.
Because when you put them together, most times those children outshine the ones that are behind. And you don't even know that those ones behind will not be able to follow up. So what we do is, when we teach, yes, exactly. So what we do is, if you have like 3 hours in that day, we take 2 hours to take the other children behind upstairs to pay attention to them. So we bring them downstairs to join the very smart ones to teach them together. So in 6 hours in that day, we always bring out 2 to 3 hours to teach those ones behind, just to make sure they try to catch up with the other ones. But these things do not happen in our schools, in the public schools, because how do you even do that when you have just one teacher to one class of 30, 60?
What is that in the public school?
Okay.
There is no school anywhere in Nigeria.
You can imagine.
That means we're not dealing with our population size appropriately as a
country. The moment you begin to expand in size, look, Gaddafi in his lifetime, Gaddafi in his lifetime built houses unoccupied for the next 15 years in anticipation of further increase in population.
Population increase.
You understand? So, if we are still using the same structure that I met in my secondary school when I entered secondary school in 1976, it's still the same structure. As apart from shanties that already caving in, that were built more than 50 years, and the one that was built, go to UCH in Ibadan. Those edifices were built around 1948, 49, 50, and they are still standing.
And to reflect to that, if that video, I saw that video correctly, I could see the ceilings when the camera was flat.
Sure.
Yes, now.
The ceilings were not well covered.
Of course,
it shows
they are
that
crumbling.
dilapidated. That means there's no even sign to show that there will be electricity in that classroom.
That's what I told you. I said there cannot be electricity.
So that means a model school is just being called a model school, but it's not model.
It's just the label.
It's just the label, not the product. The product does not reflect that it's a model school.
That is it.
That means there's a lot of infrastructure problem when it comes to the education sector.
So,
and how are they dealing with it? Because I remember I wrote an article in my postgraduate days on how to school children. I must tell you, in the process of doing my research and writing the article, I almost shed tears because I noticed that the education sector has a problem that is going to affect generations and is bringing a problem. That's why we're having influx of materials available for banditry and criminality from the north, which definitely has the largest population of school children. Imagine in Delta State we're having this issue. What will happen in the northwest?
And
in the north?
Yes,
in a region where there's issues. That means our leadership needs to start thinking outside the box. Need to start. What the education minister? What are they doing? Back in the days, education minister is going about to bring new models and systems to make sure that the loopholes and issues we have in the education sector, they are solving it.
You see, let me tell you, the moment you espouse greed, wisdom takes flight. You can't be wise and be greedy, and you cannot be greedy and be wise.
One must give in.
One must give way. And at the heart of our problem is this. They come in and we help them to embrace and espouse greed. How do we do that? Somebody has just been appointed, Peter Anosike has just been appointed as a commissioner for education in Abia State. Even before he arrives in his office, he's being celebrated all over the place. There are throwing parties on his behalf. On the day of his swearing in, his Igwe will be in tow. Everybody in the village will abandon the village and come to... Now, what are they expecting him? What are they expecting from him in return for that solidarity? That is not for free. In some cases, banks will begin to see him and say, okay, you have a 100 million naira facility, just go in there and take it, no collateral. Because they know that he's going to go and steal to pay back. And then when you have that greed, how would you remember that somebody's child needs to be educated? How do you want to remember that somebody's wife is on labor, and he doesn't have money for cesarean section? And that woman and the unborn baby dies. A baby that probably would have been the president of this country and make a lot of difference in this country. You're allowing that baby to die.
Well, we had a proud governor in the southeast that gave pregnant women 500 naira, if I'm not mistaken, and he was very proud of it. That he gave them
500 naira for.
Yeah, Mr. Peter, I don't know if you can remember.
Peter, you saw somebody giving tires of Okada.
So
one each, one.
Yeah.
one tire of Okada.
I wonder when this is going when this is going to end. But Dr. Wright, let us have your concluding thoughts on these topics of conversation. We're pressed for time.
It's actually worrisome. We need to set our priorities right. Yes, because whatever thing we do today will make some impact tomorrow. And what we fail to do will also make some impact. So it is time for us to start calling those in authorities to action. We're looking at education today. So much money has been voted into education. How accountable and transparent and just want to be judiciously used, in learning, apart from the quality of teachers that you have, the environment of learning also matters. And these are things that are glaring. If you walk into the schools today, what are you seeing? If you will see the children walking to school, is a sign of some of the things that are going on. So we'll still look into ourselves as parents, as community, but the tone must come from the top. The government needs to standardize our educational system. Like somebody mentioned the Delta, in Bori time or wherever, schools were fenced and things were taken care of to standard. The environment was kind of conducive. We can still have that today. Nothing is wrong if we have that. So the government should wake up to their responsibility to standardize our educational system, except they didn't go to school. Maybe that's why they don't understand. But I put a challenge to them. The schools are there for us to see. Let them wake up to their responsibility. All we just need is standard across board. Thank you.
Standard across board, and of course the manpower too need to be monitored, because it's one thing to even give the teachers responsibility of teaching and pay them salaries, and they also need to be monitoring teams. Back in the days, yes, there used to be monitoring teams who go to school to check the notes of the students.
And they don't
to be
even
sure.
give notice.
No
They don't
notice.
give notice.
Yes, back in the days it used to be like that at the point in time, but now
And then everybody start rolling around in the school, you know,
the
just to make
teachers
sure that
are
their
left
notes are
unchecked.
complete.
No,
The standard also has the number of students or pupils that should be in a class.
Exactly.
What the size of the class should be.
And
Even
UNESCO
up
is
to
25.
playground, how
Yes,
the
now.
school environment should be.
Yeah.
So we should do it up to standard.
yeah.
Not going to have 6 cubicles as classrooms. When rain is falling on the student, and so on, they don't have a place to play. So when we say standard, we are talking about standard across board.
Across board, yeah, definitely. We hope that will happen someday for Nigeria. And of course, even there was a time some governors were using UNESCO as a standard.
UNESCO is
If you cannot even attain 25 to a
25
class,
pay,
let us at least peg it to 40.
Yeah.
40 is
at
even
least it
too
could
much.
be-
No,
should be managed.
if the population, if the infrastructure cannot accommodate the population, let us at least expand it to 40.
And
A teacher teaching 40 students will be able to identify those 40 students. But I don't see any magic in a teacher that will be teaching 135, 140 students, identifying all the students, knowing their strengths
Their names.
and weaknesses and their needs. It's not going to happen.
And he's not talking with a
Microphone.
microphone.
I said, even at tertiary institution, I went into a class, mass comm department of a polytechnic. I couldn't finish
Is it a
semester. I ran away.
Really,
Because
really.
I couldn't cope. I imagine I want to give. I was taking news writing and features writing. Now, those courses are courses that you must be writing consistently. But when I tell 135, 140 students to write news, and I give them the scenario and all that, and then they bring the script is as tall as this in front of me. Where do I start?
And that's how
Do you know that
start
in most
thinking
institutions
of-
now, co-students mark for lecturers
Yes.
Yes.
because of the explosion in population.
Pretty sad. Okay, and we'll go on a quick break and come back with the trends. And of course, stay tuned on the Morning Buzz on Voice of the People TV.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. Of course, this is the trends time, but of course, we want to thank the guests for being here with us, Mr. Peter Anosike, and also Mr. Dele Fanimo and Dr. Bright as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
All right, it's always a pleasure. And of course,
All right.
Doctor, thanks for being a part of the Morning Buzz with us this Saturday morning.
Thank you too. You're welcome.
Moving on to the trends. Nollywood actor Yul Edochie and his wife Judy Austin have welcomed their third child together, a baby girl named Universe Ifeyinwa Storm. Yul Edochie. Of course, you shared the joyful news on Instagram, thanking God and fans for their prayers. Also, the announcement follows a recent video of Judy in the labor room, and the couple had earlier revealed the pregnancy in February. Known for his humor, Yul had joked about wanting 5 more children with Judy, comparing himself to Cristiano Ronaldo. Their relationship, which became public in 2022, while Yul was still married to his first wife, May Edochie, has remained a topic of public attention despite ongoing controversy. The couple continues to celebrate their growing family. Of course, well, when I saw that video, I saw a video of you trying to show that Judy was pregnant, and a lot of persons said, you know what, we don't think this is real. Some persons said that they lived in their estate and they did not think that she was really pregnant, that he was just doing it for clout sake. But then, good looking out at them, they now have a baby girl, and then we hope them the best after all.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of fans of May will be happy, but it is what it is. Congratulations to your family. Childbirth is always something to celebrate.
Of course. Regardless of the fact that Nigerians may not like Judy, but the fact that she put to bed graciously and
in
we're happy
7
for
days'
them.
time, we'll come for the naming.
Hallelujah.
And of course, everybody eats a lot of rice and still very plenty in the Yul and Doche family in a matter of days as far as the naming is concerned. Congratulations to the Yul family from all of us on Morning Boss.
Yes, and this is where we will anchor the show for today. Morning Boss comes your way next week, Saturday. I am Masinachi Okafo.
And I'm Jerry Fairly High saying have a great weekend. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, bye for now.
Bye for now.